In the swirling sands of Tattooine, beneath the twin suns that scorched the land and baked the bones of the unwary, the name Kael'S became legend. Kael was not yet the myth he would one day become, a mere 22 standard years old, and yet already touched by the ancient power of the Force, drawn from the primal wellsprings of the galaxy's deepest mysteries. He moved through the world with the restless energy of youth, but his eyes carried the weight of countless generations, reflecting the wisdom and the wildness of those who had come before. Kael's journey had brought him to Tattooine not by choice, but by necessity. Rumors spoke of a relic hidden beneath the sands, a remnant from a time when the Force flowed freely, and the Jedi were but whispers in the cosmic wind. But Tattooine was more than just sand and rumor. It was the dominion of the Hutts, a criminal empire ruled with an iron fist and a cold reptilian cunning. The Hutts did not take kindly to strangers, and least of all to those who dared to challenge their authority. Kael'S, however, was not one to bow before tyranny. His presence on Tattooine was quickly noticed. Word spread through Mos Eisley and Mos Espa of a lone wanderer, swift as a shadow, who walked unafraid through the heart of Hutt territory. He intervened where he saw injustice, freeing slaves in the dead of night, disrupting spice shipments, and leaving the Hutt enforcers dazed and humiliated. The Hutts, who prided themselves on their control, found their patience running thin. It was not long before they set a trap, one designed to crush even the most stubborn of spirits. The confrontation was inevitable. Under the cover of darkness, the Hutts unleashed their full might. Bounty hunters and mercenaries, assassins and thugs, all were summoned to bring down the upstart Jedi. The battle that ensued was one for the ages, a storm of blaster fire, and the hum of a single ancient lightsaber. Kael moved like the wind itself, his blade a blur of blue light, his mind attuned to every ripple in the Force. 12 hours the battle raged, from the cool of night into the blistering heat of day. The ground was scorched, and the air thick with the scent of ozone and charred metal. But even the greatest warriors have their limits. For every foe Kael struck down, 2 more rose to take their place. The Hutts, in their arrogance, had amassed a veritable army. Slowly, inexorably, Kael'S was worn down. His strength faded, his wounds multiplied, and the inexorable tide of numbers began to overwhelm even his formidable skills. At last, battered and bleeding, Kael was brought low. His lightsaber was torn from his grasp, his body bound in chains forged to resist even the most potent Force manipulations. The Hutts, their pride wounded and their greed inflamed, debated what to do with their prize. Some whispered of ransom, others of execution. But the eldest among them, Rababa the Hutt himself, proposed a spectacle worthy of their victory. They would take Kael'S, the Jedi who dared to defy them, out into the heart of the Dune Sea. There, in the shadow of the Great Pit, they would offer him as a sacrifice to the Sarlacc, a creature older than memory, whose hunger was the stuff of nightmares. For 1,000 years, it was said, the Sarlacc digested its prey, a fate reserved for only the most despised enemies of the Hutts. Bound and half-conscious, Kael was dragged across the burning sand. The journey was long and cruel, the sun unrelenting, the Hutts jeering and gloating as they paraded their captive before their minions. All along the way, Kael's mind drifted between pain and clarity, his thoughts reaching out through the Force for solace and strength. In his lowest moment, he remembered the teachings of his masters, the primal Jedi who had shaped his path. They had taught him that true power came not from domination, but from harmony with the living Force. Even in defeat, they said, a Jedi could find victory. At last, the procession reached the pit of Carkoon. The Sarlacc's maw yawned wide, a monstrous wound in the earth, ringed by spines and lined with teeth. The Hutts reveled in their triumph, ordering their lackeys to lower Kael toward the waiting abyss. The crowd roared, eager for the spectacle, but as Kael hung over the pit, something changed. The air seemed to thrum with energy, the wind itself swirling around him in defiance of the Hutt's will. In that moment, Kael'S reached deep within himself. He let go of his fear, his anger, and even his hope. He became a conduit for the Force, surrendering to its flow. The chains that bound him grew cold, then brittle, then shattered like glass. The Hutts bellowed in rage as Kael twisted in midair, flipping free from their grasp. He landed at the very edge of the pit, the sand shifting beneath his feet. The bounty hunters surged forward, blasters blazing. Kael raised his hand, calling his lightsaber to him with a snap of blue energy. He moved with the grace of a dancer, the focus of a storm. The force sang in his veins, guiding his every step. The Hutt's forces fell before him one by one, until the survivors fled in terror, their resolve broken. Jabba himself slithered back to his barge, cursing the Jedi with every foul word he knew. Kael', battered but unbowed, turned from the Sarlacc and vanished into the desert. His legend grew, whispered by those who had witnessed his escape. Some said he was a ghost, others a god. But those who truly knew the ways of the Force understood. Kael' was a reminder that even in the darkest of places, hope could take root, and the will to resist could never be fully extinguished. And so the story of Kael' and his defiance of the Hutts became part of the endless tapestry of the galaxy, a tale of courage, endurance, and the enduring power of the Force.